Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Faithful training camp officially opened, and it delivered an absolute tidal wave of good news right out of the gate. We're talking about Nick Bosa health updates that genuinely exceeded expectations, receivers flashing all over the field, a fascinating left guard battle already taking shape, and enough secondary storylines to keep us busy the entire summer. Let's break down absolutely everything worth knowing from day one. Nick Bosa isn't even on the PUP list. Let's start with the biggest story to expect. The team might want to build in some extra protective caution around him regardless of his offseason progress. Instead, he's simply starting camp fully in the mix. And here's what makes this even more remarkable. Bosa has always had a genuinely consistent offseason routine, training down in Florida with his brother, the exact same approach year after year. This offseason, he broke that entire routine. He didn't go to Florida. He didn't train with his brother. Instead, according to John Lynch, he stayed in the team facility all offseason, specifically rehabbing and making sure he came back not just healthy, but genuinely fully right. That's a real, meaningful credit to Nick Bosa's dedication heading into this season. And the early returns on day one backed all of that up. Everybody watching practice came away saying he looked genuinely great. According to Williams, Bosa actually looks better than he did before he got hurt last season. To be fair, Trent Williams has a well-earned reputation for occasionally embellishing praise for his teammates a little bit, so that specific claim shouldn't be treated as absolute gospel. But Williams also doesn't typically shy away from speaking honestly, so there's real reason to feel genuinely good about this update. Given this news, how good could this defensive line actually be this season with a starting units multiple times, making a couple of genuinely exciting plays and flashing real quickness in his route running? He even stayed out after practice to get extra reps in, exactly the kind of effort worth appreciating. And Mike Evans is genuinely, finally a 49er, and it's been exciting simply watching him actually out there in this uniform. He was credited with what many observers called the offensive play of the day, a deep completion down the left sideline that multiple people described as a perfect route paired with perfect ball placement from Brock Purdy. Genuinely exciting stuff from this receiving core right out of the gate. There was also encouraging news on the Kyle Shanahan front. He made an appearance at practice today, spending time outside in natural sunlight, which is genuinely a positive sign from a recovery standpoint. Multiple on-the-ground reports also indicated he was out there for most of the 11-on-11 portion of practice, which is fantastic news for his continued recovery. The left guard battle is already taking shape. There's a genuinely fascinating competition brewing at left guard between Connor Colby and Robert Jones. Offensive line coach Chris Forster specifically noted after practice that both players have genuinely set themselves apart in this competition so far. It's genuinely fun getting this kind of direct insight given Forster's specific offensive line expertise. Trent Williams also specifically praised Colby's growth from year one to year two, noting he's building real confidence that's allowing him to play more like the player everyone already knows he can become once the ball is snapped. Here's why this specific battle carries real long-term significance beyond just this season. If Colby wins this job, it sets up a genuinely exciting long-term pipeline for this offensive line. This team will eventually need to replace Trent Williams at left tackle in the coming years, and eventually replace Colton McKivitz at right tackle too, along with center Jake Brendel down the road. Having a young left guard already established, paired with the eventual right guard succession plan, would put this offensive line in a genuinely strong position for years to come. Jordan James is already turning heads at running back. Jordan James took a genuinely healthy share of the RB2 reps on day one. As expected, he's already showing real edge in his running style. One reporter specifically described a cutback move so nasty, it essentially took a defender off his feet entirely. There's real belief Jordan James could carve out a genuinely meaningful role for himself this season. To be fair, Fred Warner did get the better of him on one specific rep, stuffing him cleanly at the line of scrimmage in what amounted to a genuine welcome to the NFL moment. But overall, a genuinely exciting first impression from the rookie. The secondary battles are genuinely fascinating. Shifting to the defensive side, there's plenty worth watching in the secondary too. Renardo Grain ran with the starting group frequently on day one, a genuinely good sign for him specifically. There wasn't much specific reporting on Jack Jones, so nothing worth reading into there yet either way. Jair Brown was also with that starting group today, suggesting he's at least earned the right to open camp in that specific role. Interestingly, Marquez Sigler and Malik Mustafa did a lot of rotating alongside him, which is genuinely worth watching closely. It remains to be seen exactly how new defensive coordinator Raheem Morris ultimately wants to deploy this specific group based on what he's seen so far and what he continues seeing throughout the rest of camp. There were also a couple of individual defensive highlights worth mentioning. Malik Mustafa had a genuinely explosive pass breakup against Ricky Pearsall. And on the quarterback side, Mac Jones threw an interception that was tipped at the line and hauled in downfield, while Brock Purdy also nearly threw a pick on a separate play where a receiver simply didn't run the same route the quarterback expected across the middle. Normal, expected communication hiccups for the first day of real practice. A new defensive look worth watching. There's also a genuinely interesting scheme wrinkle worth flagging. Christian McCaffrey opened camp looking genuinely explosive, including a nice cutback move that beat Romello Height in coverage as part of what's being described as a new defensive look from Raheem Morris. Trent Williams specifically noted he's now seeing more five-man defensive fronts in practice, a departure from the primarily four-man fronts this team has run in recent years. That's a genuinely notable adjustment, especially given how many teams around the league have shifted toward those exact kinds of five-man front concepts recently. It's a great sign that this offensive line is already getting real practice reps against exactly the kind of looks they'll likely see throughout the regular season. Along the defensive line specifically, notable starting reps went to Nick Martin at the weak side linebacker spot, along with Grayson Halton and Romello Height, both getting real opportunities with the starting unit. Mykel Williams opened camp on the PUP list, which was fairly expected given that Bosa's recovery has clearly progressed ahead of his own timeline. He's expected back relatively soon, which is genuinely good news. In the meantime, Height and Halton getting real early opportunities with the first-team group is a great sign worth watching closely as camp continues. The one injury worth mentioning: every camp report needs at least one injury note. Unfortunately, left tackle depth piece Vidarian Lowe left practice today with an ankle injury. The good news is that Enrique Cruz Jr., a fifth-round rookie, stepped directly into that swing tackle role and genuinely impressed offensive line coach Chris Forster in the process. That's exactly the kind of moment a team hopes for when it invests draft capital at a specific position, and it's a genuinely encouraging sign that depth is already showing real value early in camp. Wrapping it up, so there you have it, faithful. An absolutely stacked day one of training camp. Nick Bosa not just healthy, but reportedly looking better than ever, according to Trent Williams. Deebo Samuel and Mike Evans both flashing immediately in the passing game. Kyle Shanahan making real progress in his own recovery. A genuinely fascinating left guard battle already taking real shape between Connor Colby and Robert Jones. Jordan James turning heads at running back. And a genuinely intriguing new defensive scheme wrinkle worth tracking closely as camp continues. What would you rate this defensive line right now, assuming Nick Bosa stays healthy all season? Let me know down in the comments. It's genuinely so exciting to have football back. Let's go.